إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا والنساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد. We begin by praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We praise Him and we seek refuge from the evil that is within our own selves and the evil of our actions. Whomsoever Allah wills to guide, none can lead astray, and whomsoever is led astray, none can guide except Allah. I bear witness that there is no deity worthy of worship except Allah. He is alone, He has no partners. And I bear witness that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam is His slave and final messenger. To proceed, we thank Allah Azza wa Jal for giving us the opportunity to reach another day of remembrance, Yawm al-Jumu'ah. This day of remembrance, Allah Azza wa Jal instituted in order for us to be able to come together and remember a little bit of the reality of this life, and most importantly, the reality of the hereafter. In this busy life that we live in, anywhere in the nation, as we travel, alhamdulillah, I come from the city of Houston, Texas. Anywhere we travel, especially the East Coast. I was just yesterday in New York, alhamdulillah, meeting my dear friend Imam Saraj Wahaj. And anytime we come to these lands on the East Coast, things are very busy. And life seems as if it goes by so fast. And as I was thinking about this Jumu'ah today, I was thinking, there are so many people out here on the streets. People such as myself who were not Muslim. I was not born a Muslim. My parents were not Muslims. We would get up and go to sleep and try to enjoy ourselves, buy some things, and then we didn't know where we were going. We didn't know what our purpose of life was. We didn't know where we came from. We didn't know why we were here. And we did not know where we were going. And as I was preparing the khutbah this morning, I said, there are so many people who are losing their lives because of not knowing that information. And Allah, by Allah, I received a phone call from a good dear friend of ours from Houston. And he mentioned to me that his wife who embraced Islam, her brother, this very morning took his life. This individual took his life. And it became real exactly what I was looking at. If we didn't have Islam, I don't know how I would be able to look at life. For many of you, alhamdulillah, we see many of the youth here. You may think that because your parents were Muslim, then alhamdulillah, you're a Muslim. But Islam is not something you just inherit, like your skin color. It's not something you inherit like your nationality, where your parents are from, a geographical location in the world. Islam is something you either understand, learn, and practice, or you don't. And when looking at a beautiful hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, we hope, inshallah, in the next few minutes, we analyze and we understand our responsibility regarding the people who allow for us to come and live amongst. Because even my parents migrated to this country. America is a country filled with people from different parts of the world. And my parents came from Latin America, from South America, from Colombia. And even though we didn't come from a Muslim country, we came to America and alhamdulillah found out about Islam in America. You may have come from a country where there were Muslims and Islam was there, but somehow decided to come to this country. And now your children are growing up in this country. And now they're living amongst people who may not know about Islam. So the Prophet ﷺ mentions in a hadith, a beautiful hadith, and I hope you picture the graphical context of this hadith, because it's really very graphic. He describes in this hadith that in this world there are three types of people. There are three types of hearts. And we need to ask ourselves as we hear this information, which of these three are we? Narrated by Abu Musa radiallahu anhu, he mentions that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, مَثَلُ مَا بَعَثَنِ اللَّهُ بِهِ مِنَ الْهُدَى وَالْعِلْمِ كَمَثَلِ الْغَيْثِ الْكَثِيرِ أَصَابَ أَرْضًا. The Prophet ﷺ said, the example of guidance and knowledge with which Allah has sent me is like abundant rain falling upon the earth. Like a lot of rain falling on the earth. Guidance and ilm, like rain falling on the earth. فَكَانَ مِنْهَا نَقِيَّةٌ قَبِيلَةِ الْمَاءِ فَأَنْبَتَتِ الْكَلَى وَالْعُشْبَ الْكَثِيرِ. Some of this earth where this rain is falling, a part of it is very fertile. This fertile soil absorbs the rainwater and then brings forth vegetation. It brings forth fruits, vegetation, grass in abundance. وَكَانَتْ مِنْهَا أَجَادِبُ أَمْسَكَتِ الْمَاءِ. And another portion of the earth is a portion that the top of the earth is very hard. It has a hard surface. So it retains the water. The water doesn't go in. Part of the earth where the surface is hard, so the water, when it drops, it just stays on top. فَنَفَعَ اللَّهُ بِهَا النَّاسِ فَشَرِبُوا فَسَقَعُوا فَزَرَعُوا. And Allah benefited the people with that water that stayed on top, to drink from, to give their animals to drink from, and to irrigate the land for cultivation for their crops. One part of the earth, fertile, it gives fruits. The other one's hard. Then he continues, وَأَصَّابَتْ مِنْهَا طَائِفَةً أُخْرَى إِنَّمَا هِيَ قِعَانٌ لَا تُمْسِكُ مَاءً وَلَا تُنْبِتُ كَلًا. And then there's a third part of the earth, a third portion that is barren. It's barren. Basically, it doesn't hold the water on top, and when it goes through, it's porous. It just goes right through, and it doesn't give any sort of benefit. It doesn't grow any vegetation. So the water goes right through, and there's nothing that comes out of it. And he finishes the hadith by saying, فَذَلِكَ مَثَلُ مَنْ فَقِهَ فِي دِينِ اللَّهِ وَنَفَعَهُ مَا بَعَثَنِ اللَّهُ بِهِ. The first example of the fertile land, the one that takes the water and it gives fruits, he said that's the example of a person who comprehends the deen of Islam. That's the example of a person who understands the deen. Guidance comes right into the heart and it bears fruits. And the fruits of this guidance is their actions. The way that they benefit themselves from the actions and benefit others. That's the guidance that the Prophet ﷺ was sent with. And then he continues saying and finishes the hadith by saying, وَمَثَلُ مَنْ لَمْ يَرْفَعْ بِذَلِكَ رَأْسًا وَلَمْ يَقْبَلْ هُدَى اللَّهِ الَّذِي أُرْسِلْتُ بِهِ. And the last example, the land that doesn't give anything. Water goes right through it, no benefit comes out of it. He said that's like the example of a person who doesn't even care about Allah's guidance. Whenever they hear the message, it doesn't even motivate them to find out more about it. Doesn't It doesn't bring about curiosity. لَمْ يَرْفَعْ بِذَلِكَ رَأْسًا. They don't even lift their head when they hear the message. Like what is that? They don't even, it totally is alienated by them. They don't care for it. And this is the example of a person who doesn't benefit from the guidance that Allah Azza wa Jalla sent the Prophet ﷺ with. They don't benefit themselves, they don't benefit people, they just don't benefit, even though the guidance is given. By this hadith, brothers and sisters, we see that Allah Azza wa Jalla, one of the points is that He did not discriminate based on the earth receiving rainwater. Water falls all over the earth. The same way, guidance was given to every human tribe and people throughout the times. To every single tribe of people, to every single nation, He has sent a messenger. So He always sent guidance to the people. He never discriminated a group of people because they were too much of something or too little of something. Guidance has been given throughout humanity. The second point is that we don't know what this water may affect in regards to what land it touches. Similar to how we don't know how this guidance may affect someone's heart when it reaches it. We may think someone is drinking, someone's doing drugs, someone's selling drugs. And we think, you know what, that sort of individual, he wouldn't care about Islam. I'll go into the masjid, I'll pray my prayers, and I'll leave. And that individual's right there. You know what? Doesn't even matter that I don't tell him because he's so far away, he wouldn't even care. You never know that a piece of the land on the earth may be barren, may seem like it gives no benefit, the water goes right through. However, that land may restore itself and it may become fertile. It may become fertile. Some land may seem like it's dead, but then all of a sudden comes back to life. There are some individuals whose heart is dead. They're living, but the heart is dead. Without guidance, without the light of understanding why they even belong, what the purpose of life is here. It's almost like they're living, but they're really spiritually dead. And some of the people, when they reach a level of understanding of the deen and they didn't know about it, alhamdulillah, such as myself, benefited. How about the land, which the surface is hard and water is on top and it benefits maybe others, but it doesn't benefit itself. There are people who may know these ahadith, who may know the ayat of the Quran, walking amongst us. But yet, even though they can quote it and tell someone else, Allah said and His Messenger said, when we look at the actions of that individual, it may not be coherent, it may not be similar to what they're saying. They say the right thing, but it's almost like, do as I say, not as I do. And that's the example of a person who doesn't benefit from the guidance themselves. But subhanAllah, they may benefit others. When I was 23 years old in Houston, Texas, I left a club after drinking, being out, similar to what we used to do. And the guy that I was with looked at the liquor he was drinking and he said, I can't believe I'm still doing this. And I said, what do you mean? This guy had been a friend of mine almost a good majority of my life. And for the first time, I saw him kind of feel bad about what he was doing. When people drink, they think it's fine. Nobody has told him otherwise. But this guy said, I can't believe I'm still doing this. I said, what do you mean? And he said, I can't believe I'm still doing this after having gone to Mecca. So I said, Mecca, what is Mecca? He said, it's where the house of God is. I said, I know about different religions out there in the world, but I've never heard of a religion that says God has a house. and he lives somewhere on the earth. Doesn't make any sense. And he said, no. This is a house built by Abraham and Ismail to worship the only one God. I said, I know Abraham, I know Ismail. My background is a Christian, right? Let me understand these names. I said, what is this? Never heard about this. He said, Islam is the true religion of God. Even though I've known him all my life, to be going out and doing all kinds of things, when he said Islam is the true religion of God, something seemed so true about that statement. But when I look and consider his actions, it's no different than me. So I was thinking, do I believe what he's saying? Do I not? What is this? I said, everyone says their religion is the true religion. Right? That's why I personally don't like this whole issue of religion. I was a person, before being Muslim, that thought religions just brought about problems. Some people liked each other because they were from the same religion, and when people were not from the same religion, they hated each other. This is the way I looked at it. Because of religion, there's conflict. Because of religion, there's problems. I didn't see it as a unifying force. And so he said, you know what? I'm not the right person to talk about this topic. You should speak to my mother. I'd never seen his mom. Then I thought about it. I hadn't seen his mom all these years. I go in and out of his house. I never see his mom. And he said, talk to her. And I said, why? Right? I'm thinking, why can't you tell me? Right? He said, no, she's the one because she was a nun in a convent in Italy. And before marrying my father, his father was Muslim. She looked into Islam by herself for 8 years after giving up on religion. And she told her husband when married, don't ever force me about your religion. I don't want anything to do with religions. I just believe in the Bible and so on. And she left the convent because she didn't have clear answers when she was a nun about Christianity and about God and about so many things. And for 8 years she studied Islam on her own without telling her husband, and she eventually became Muslim. And when she became Muslim, she began to talk to people such as myself who maybe understood something about Christianity from growing up but didn't know really where the gaps and the holes were. So he said, because of that, speak to my mother. So I went over to speak to her one day, and she came out, and I'd never seen her before, and she was covered. She was wearing hijab. And when I saw her, I thought, this is strange. Because see, as a non-Muslim, someone who is covered, you think it's strange. You don't make the connection that Mary, the mother of Isa alayhi salam, Maryam, you don't make the connection that she was covered. We don't think that way. She came out, and I went to shake her hand, and she didn't want to shake my hand, and I said, well, she knows what I've been doing with her son. She doesn't like me. Right? Because somebody doesn't shake your hand here, it's like, I'm not really, I don't like you. There's something about it. I don't feel comfortable. But she had a smile on her face. And she said, do you want to know about Islam? And I said, I don't even know what that is. I don't even know what I want to know. She said, come inside. And she asked clear questions. Do you like science? Do you like mathematics? Math. And I am from Colombia. In Colombia, Colombian people are very studious people. My father is an engineer from Colombia in agriculture. Right? Our family has people who are mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, and many architects. So the issue of science and math, we respect it. In Colombia, you respect these sciences, but you don't think about the source and where it comes from. She showed me a video that day from Ahmedida, and then showed another video where it was talking about the miracles of the Quran. And when I saw this book and what it had to offer regarding how the human embryo has been developed and how this was in a book 1400 years ago, I was thinking in my mind, what is this? How come I never knew about this? What is this? Right? It's confusing. Because when I start realizing it and thinking about it, my friend starts telling me that, so-and-so is Muslim, so-and-so is Muslim, people who I knew, but they never told me anything about Islam. And I was thinking, why? If this is supposedly like a hidden treasure, why do people hide it? Why are the Muslims hiding it? You know, is there some benefit in that? And when I began to look into the Deen of Islam, I went for 1 year to one of the mosques over there. And I enrolled in a tafsir class. Tafsir, non-Muslim. Sat in a tafsir class to understand the ayat of the Quran based on the Arabic language as a non-Muslim. And I remember looking into this and saying, how does a book talk in a way that even human beings can't express themselves this way? In just a few words, a verse, you take 10, 15, 20 minutes analyzing it. It was shocking. And one day I said, you know what? I want to taste what this prayer is like. And I wasn't Muslim, and I lined up. And you know, when we line up, you know, mashallah, everybody comes, you know, foot by foot. In this society, you don't come to foot with people. Okay, you walk up to somebody over here at the train station and you try to be very close to them. I mean, what's going on here? Right? So this is strange. But regardless, I did it. And after going through the prayer, I got up and I was like, man, this feels peaceful. It feels good. And as I'm thinking about this, a man comes up to me and he says, did you become Muslim? And I said, no. Why? I said, well, I'm just studying, you know, researching. And then he looked at me and he said, you know, if you don't become Muslim, you're going to hell. I said, what? What? He said, yeah, if you don't become Muslim, you're going to hell. What? Do you know me? You know, how do you know where I'm going, you know? And I was like, man, I'm out, man. I don't want to deal with these people. And I left. And I did not want to go back to that mosque or any other mosque. I didn't want to deal with the Muslims. I ran up on a Muslim one day who I knew was Muslim, and he was outside of a convenience store. He was smoking a cigarette. And I smoked cigarettes before. So I walked up to him and I said, hey, you're Muslim, right? Yeah. So, in your religion, can you smoke cigarettes? And so he took the cigarette and threw it on the floor and smashed it with his foot. He said, you know, if you become Muslim, you'll be better than me. And I was like, well, so can you or can you not? And he didn't answer. That's all he said. If you become Muslim, you'll be better than me. The convenience store where we used to get the liquor, the guy working there is named Muhammad. So I go and ask. See, these sort of questions, as a non-Muslim, you try to figure this out, you know? What is happening here? And, you know, in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, you have people who hated the Deen of Islam. People such as Omar. Omar, before being Muslim, do you know that he accepted Islam on the same day that he was on his way to kill the Prophet ﷺ? He was on the way to kill the Prophet ﷺ. And when he walked in, Hamza, the Prophet's uncle, was standing right next to him. And Hamza used to hunt lions in the desert. This man is strong. And he said, when they saw Omar coming, they already knew what he was about. So they said, you know what? If he comes in and tries to harm the Prophet ﷺ, I'll break his neck with his own sword. This is what Hamza said. And the Prophet ﷺ said, let him come in. Omar came in, and the Prophet ﷺ took him very close to him and brought him close, and he said, Ya Omar, isn't it time that you bear witness that there is only one God and that I'm the messenger of Allah? And Omar looked at the Prophet ﷺ and he said, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. That day when he became Muslim, from hating Islam and from hating the Prophet to the point he wanted to take his life, he looked at the Prophet ﷺ and became the most beloved person to him. And he asked the question, Ya Rasulullah, aren't we upon the truth? Because the Muslims were in hiding at that time. They were in hiding. They were being persecuted by the Quraysh. So he said, aren't we upon the truth and they upon falsehood? Meaning the people from the Quraysh and the people in society. Prophet ﷺ said, yes. He said, then why are we hiding? As soon as the Prophet ﷺ heard this from Umar, he realized that was the dua that was answered. The Prophet ﷺ made dua that one of the two most adamant enemies to Islam at that point in time, Umar and Abu Lahab, one of them became Muslim. And he realized it was Omar, and he got up and he said, as of today, basically, we will go out freely. And Omar and Hamza, they walked out, and the Muslims walked right behind them, and they proclaimed the oneness of Allah in public in a very dangerous time. Because anyone who was doing this were being persecuted. And when they did this, it began the open call of the deen of Islam. Since that day, 1400 years ago till now, this call, brothers and sisters, is the same call. But the people who took on that message at the beginning, people such as Umar, radiallahu anhu, people such as Abu Bakr, Ali, Uthman, Sa'ad ibn Abi Waqqas, all of these people. What sort of people were they? What sort of people are we? There were people such as Abu Lahab who heard the message, didn't benefit. They never benefited. Right? So he's like the barren land. The land where no matter how much guidance was there, the Quran was being revealed, miracles were happening. Still, didn't affect his heart. There were people such as Heraclius. Whenever Abu Sufyan came to him, explaining, Heraclius asked questions about if this man was a real prophet. And he asked, who follows him from among society? Is it the one of the elite or du'afa'ahum? The people who are oppressed, the people who are weak, the people who are poor. And Abu Sufyan couldn't lie. And he said, it's the weak, oppressed, poor. That's one of the signs of prophethood. It is those people who follow Islam. Sometimes as a community we look that only if that 1% of the ruling class were to become Muslim, everything will be fine. Such as Abu Sufyan. If he just becomes Muslim, everything will be fine. But we forget about the common everyday person out here who is thirsty and their heart is dry. And we have been nourished. We have plenty, alhamdulillah, of guidance coming into these masajid in America, and we have enough of this guidance so that we can water their hearts. But the question is, are we watering their hearts? May Allah Azza wa Jal make us from amongst the people who carry out the duty and responsibility in front of Allah Azza wa Jal. May Allah Azza wa Jal forgive us for our shortcomings. Subhanak Allahumma wa bihamdik wa ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. بسم الله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه أما بعد. Alhamdulillah, we are here this weekend because there's a very significant and important event happening. On Sunday, there will be Latino Muslim Day. From my understanding, this masjid has had this ongoing every single year. In 2006, when I came back from studying in Egypt, that's where I met Abdullah Daniel Hernandez, alhamdulillah, from this community. I met him in Egypt when we were studying. And that same year we got back, 2006, 2007, I was able to come to this community, alhamdulillah. Coming years later now, almost a decade later, I noticed something when I came the first time, and I noticed something now. This Bergen Line Avenue, if you want to gather everyone from Latin America, Spanish-speaking countries, maybe Bergen Line already took care of that, task. It's challenging to gather people from all over Latin America. Latinos are very diverse, by the way. A person from Chile who is light-skinned, looking like European descent, or from Argentina, is very different than someone from Panama, who is mainly Afro-descendants, very dark-skinned. They both speak Spanish, but totally different race. So Latinos are from different races. Okay? You have people from South America, such as myself, from Colombia, and you have people from Central America, right? Such as Mexico and Guatemala, and, Salvador. You have so much of a variety, but one thing that's interesting is that in the United States, Latinos have come. And they are the largest growing ethnicity growing in America. According to the US Census Bureau, in 2002, the United States Census Bureau population estimates that by the year 2050 in America, 1 out of every 3 Americans will be a Latino. This population is foresought or estimated to triple in size, to be 102 million here in America. As Muslims, If we want to educate the American public and we say, you know, alhamdulillah, Allah nourished us with some of this guidance. And He said, "Ud'u ila sabili rabbika bil hikmah." This is an order. Fi'l amr. Ud'u, call, invite to the way of your Lord. This is not maybe I'll see if I can, if I have some time. Ud'u is like an order, a command. It's like saying sit, stand, talk, invite. Invite to the way of your Lord. It's not an option. This becomes a fard ayn. This is a responsibility upon the individual. There was a study in America. In about 50 masajid, they asked, who's responsible for giving da'wah? 85% of the people from these communities, they wrote the imam. 85% of the people said, responsibility to giving da'wah, the imam of the masjid. I'm here to tell you today, on this day of remembrance, it is everyone's responsibility. Because when Allah says, "Ud'u ila sabili rabbika bil hikmah," you call to the way of your Lord. We are here on Sunday for an event where we hope, inshallah, similar to the table that's set up outside. There's a table outside called Islam in Spanish. We have generated over 500 audios and done more than 250 television shows in the Spanish language after September 11th, because there was no material in the Spanish language. This effort was established out of Houston, Texas, but now, alhamdulillah, we have representatives here. Abu Sumayya, Abdul Razak Labran, graduate from Michigan University, he's here. He's our representative in Jersey. We have representatives in Dallas, in Houston, and anywhere we go in the nation. The last 10 events that we have done, Allah is my witness, at least one person has accepted Islam. We have one class in Houston, for 1 year, 37 people accepted Islam. We're seeing that Latinos are embracing Islam because we are able to explain to them about their roots. We let them know that from Al-Andalus, when the Muslims ruled Spain for almost 800 years, we have over 3,000 words from the Arabic language in the Spanish language. We're going to share some of that here on Sunday. And we hope that each one of you, if you have a Latino person who you know, a person down the street here, you take some of the flyers and you let these people know that this is happening. Because you don't have to know the language in order to call these people. You let us do that job, but you let them know that we're here to do that. And with this, brothers and sisters, we'll be able to work together as a community. And we'll be able to benefit. Because Allah Azza wa Jal, I never would have known. When I received the guidance of the Deen of Islam, alhamdulillah. 3 months after my father became Muslim. Then 3 years after my mother became Muslim. My wife became Muslim. Her mother, her little brother, and the very first CD that we have downstairs was made because my wife's aunt was suffering from cancer. And she was on her last days. And we made a CD called The Religion of Truth, which is downstairs in the table. And I really advise you to take it and give it to someone. We made this and gave it to her and didn't tell her what it was about because she was a very strong Christian and she thought we were wrong for becoming Muslim. She thought very negative. We gave her this audio and alhamdulillah, 2 weeks later when I came and asked her if she listened to it, she said she listened to it 4 times. I said, what do you think? It's beautiful. We discussed, and that day, alhamdulillah, she embraced Islam. A few days later, she passed away. We prayed janazah on her. And this is a person who never prayed a day in their life, didn't fast Ramadan, didn't go to Hajj, didn't pay zakat. It was just La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. This is a statement, brothers and sisters, that we hope to share with the people. And we ask Allah Azza wa Jal to guide us and to help us be part of the driving force in this country regarding people being educated about Islam. May Allah Azza wa Jal help us and guide us, admit our human limitations by remembering Allah's greatness. May Allah guide and protect us and free us from ill feelings amongst one another regarding any ethnicity that we may come from, that we acknowledge each other as brothers and sisters, and that we think highly of our brothers and sisters, giving them the benefit of the doubt, that He protect us from showing off and doing things to please others besides Allah, and that we strive to serve humanity at large while celebrating our common humanity. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين إقامة الصلاة.